Hey everybody, Tony D, and this is a bit of a weird screenwriter's rant, but I'm just going to get caught up on a couple of different projects that sort of need some, I don't know, commentary about. So the first is In the Heights. Now, I had done a screenwriter's rant about this. Turns out I went back and found my video in 2019. But back then, I wasn't clicking through it like I'm doing it right now. I would play the video on my computer, and I had the camera set back there, and it would show it, and you'd hear it. But like I figured, since it was far away and you really couldn't see it all that well, and you kind of plus I stop and start it and talk over it. YouTube seemed okay with that for a while. Now, in the case of In the Heights, it was one of my screenwriter's rants where everybody disagreed with me, or a lot of people did. I shouldn't say everybody. A lot of people disagreed with me. And by the way, the guy who directed this was the guy who directed Crazy Rich Asians, which sounds mildly racist until you find out that he's Asian, so it's okay. But it would be okay either way, right? I mean, again, comedy's all about context, and that was a comedy movie. Anyhow, this is a musical, and then when I went through it, I was commenting about it. I basically said that musicals aren't for me, and I hope this isn't a musical, and then they start singing, and I'm like, oh no, and basically that's all I said. I said the musicals aren't for me. I don't like musicals. I think this will be terrible. It would be like torture for me to watch. And people got all up in my face. I don't know why. I didn't say it was bad. I said it's not for me. And I still don't think it's bad for what it is. I just think I'm not the audience for it. But as we all know now, they're getting blasted by the woke on this. Oh my God, is that a ghost? Is she a ghost in this? Because it looks like I could see through part of her head. Is she a ghost? Nah, maybe it's just a dissolve. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, it's kind of a dissolve. Yeah, and they could build it as the event of the summer. How about just making a movie for the summer? But, this was 2019, December 2019. It was supposed to be summer of 2020, and then it didn't come out until this summer. So, the pandemic, in some sense, ruined it. But really, the woke ruined it because they're saying that this cast of Latinos and Latinas aren't dark enough. That their physical skin is not dark enough because there's not enough Afro-Latinos and Latinas in this movie. And the thing about it is it's still representative, right? It's still represented Latinos and Latinas. I know, they keep saying Latinx. I'm not going to say that because it's not a word and it's stupid. What about the people it did represent? Well, they don't matter anymore, of course, because the woke, it never matters. Logic doesn't enter into the wokeness. So they're blasting this movie. It's getting absolutely killed because they marketed it as this woke movie, which I forget who was doing the analysis. I want to say The Quartering or Yellow Flash, but it's not really all that woke. You could market it that way simply because Latinos and Latinas are in it, but ultimately it's just a musical. It's just a musical set in a poor Latina neighborhood. That's it. That's all it is. And in fact, it really is. The themes are really kind of woke because it's all about, we have to get out there and they have to see us. We can't be invisible. Because they're worried about, part of it's worried about being deported. So it really is a woke musical, but it didn't have to be marketed that way. Because most people in the United States, believe it or not, woke-tards, are perfectly fine with Latinos and Latinas in the country. They're perfectly fine with them. That's not the issue. The issue is, do we have borders or not? But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Of course, this being Hollywood and Broadway, where their political sides lean, and this movie hammers that. So you would think it would be widely embraced, but the woke do not care. The woke do not care that you spent, I thought it was more, but they spent apparently like $51 million in this movie. And they're getting creamed. They were supposed to do 20 million on the weekend. They're not doing anything. And what you have to understand too about movies, it's probably not going to play that well overseas. It's because it's culturally linked to someplace in the United States. So people in other countries aren't necessarily going to get all the references, especially because it leans political, right? They don't really get, why are people angry at Latinos because they want to be in there? And then they say confusing things that mix the message, muddy the message, like, this is our block. Well, but the whole point of the movie is you're there legally and you want to stay. It's not your block. That's the problem. So now I can make that distinction, but maybe someone in a foreign culture is going to be like, I don't quite get it, because they're not familiar with the nuances of the various issues surrounding that. But so they don't really have much of an overseas box office to depend upon. They were depending on this being an American, like, oh, this is an event movie, everybody go see it. If you don't see it, you're racist. But the problem with that is, as I keep saying, the Trump supporters have checked out of Hollywood. Anything that even remotely smells woke, they will not go see. They won't see it on principle because they're sick of all the wokeness. They've got Hollywood 24/7 calling them bigots still after all this time. And why should people like that give Hollywood their money? I won't give them my money. I feel they insult me, and I'm a libertarian. But so that half the country, you knock them right out. Then there's who's in the musicals. Well, that's a small part of the country too. It's going to tend to be urban, hip individuals. So they are concentrated in the cities, and they tend to be the woke. And then when you add, well, the theater majors and people who are really into the arts, well, they're even more woke. And now you've got a situation in which they say, oh, yeah, this may be racist. You think the woke are even going to look at this movie? They can't wait. They trip over themselves to get on Twitter to call it evil and horrible and racist. And everybody involved in it should be canceled and blah, 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 blah. Everybody involved with this movie will be lucky if they have a career now. Because not only is it getting killed in the box office, because it was supposed to hit 20 million and now it's only hit like 11.4. You've got this endless news cycle of, oh, they didn't put enough black Latinos and Latinas in this movie. They only put one. Because these are the woketards. They're counting the races and the number of people, and now it's not even a race. It's like the skin isn't dark enough. So, again, Hollywood, you have to get away from this stuff. And I've said this in other videos, and I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but I had to make a video specific to this because I thought my Screenwriter's Rant on YouTube was still around, but it's not. That was one of the videos I had to delete because YouTube was flagging everything, and I was trying to get remonetized again. So, F you, YouTube. I just did it again. Yeah, come at me. I don't care. You already demonetized me. What are you going to do now? Can't demonetize me for this. Or maybe you can't. I mean, I'm sure you could demonetize me for anything. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm not going to show the visual, is the He-Man cartoon, which is just getting endless coverage now. It's the same sort of dumb thing, right? It's Hollywood doing something woke, and they don't want to, in that case, I don't think they wanted to tell people, right? And they hid it, because that first trailer, which I looked at, really didn't look that bad. It just looked like a He-Man cartoon, better animated. And I still stick with my unpopular opinion. He-Man was never any good. It was never any good. It was a crap cartoon. It had very little plot, very little sense. It was literally like watching action figures interact with each other. Even the G.I. Joe cartoon was slightly better because at least G.I. Joe had a military organization you could kind of wrap your brain around. Like, Eternia didn't have that. There was a king and there was Prince Adam. and there was Men at Arms. He was a toy. There was one Men at Arms. They weren't even using the term correctly. It was just a constant, oh, what other toy can we introduce in the cartoon today? It meant nothing. It meant nothing. So, I watched the cartoon in the 80s, usually in between two other cartoons that I liked. I'm like, oh, I gotta sit through He-Man. All right, whatever. And now it's coming back like, oh, we're bringing back He-Man. It's this big thing. It wasn't a big thing. It was a cartoon. It was on TV. People liked the toys. They still sort of like them. But there's more life in the He-Man meme than there was in the actual story. There was more life in, doing stuff with Skeletor. I mean, Robot Chicken would do stuff with the action figures, which were hilarious, especially Skeletor, because he had a funny voice. Ah, He-Man! Mark Hamill's doing the voice of Skeletor this time, by the way, which should be interesting. But, it's another project, like, it was DOA on arrival anyway. And you've got these Hollywood nutbags who are like, well, let's update it for our time, which is code for, oh, let's make it totally woke. And because people love that, right? Well, how do you know they love that? Well, on Twitter, they're constantly talking about it, and social media. That's the absolute wrong place to get a gauge of people's reaction to things. That's not what people do. People don't go on Twitter and go, oh, they're all talking about In the Heights. I'm going to go see that. Or, oh, they're all talking about He-Man. I'm going to see that. When people talk about stuff on social media, they're usually tearing it to ribbons. It's the old adage like, I can do a critique where I hate something and people love it because I go on and on, as I'm doing now, complaining about it, and I say a bunch of snarky, sarcastic things, and it's hilarious. Whereas if I see something that I like and I don't have any complaints about it, I don't have much to say, right? You don't have much to say about something you like. Oh, it's good. It's really good. Oh, God, I like this. I mean, how much more can you say about it? You don't want to give away the plot, especially if the plot is important to the movie. And usually if it's a good movie or TV show, the plot is absolutely crucial. So, and now Kevin Smith, and this is going through the Yellow Flash and Clownfish TV, they're all reporting that Kevin Smith is scrambling to try to tell people, no, it's not woke. It's not going to be about Tila. But that's the vibe they're picking up, and the word they're getting through their contacts in the industry, that yes, indeedy, it's really a TV show, not about He-Man, but about Tila finding He-Man. Tila and her girlfriend, by the way. So, that's like super woke. And Kevin is a fool to try to just slide that in there and then double down on it. What he should have done is just come out and say, well, yeah, we updated it for the times. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not a bigot, are you? But Kevin, I don't think, is really all that woke. He's just sort of making his money and kind of hoping he could have slid that in there and been fine with it. But, this is a cartoon on Netflix. Like, who really cares at the end of the day? But at the end of the day, the only people who do care are the people who would have watched the damn cartoon, which are the fans of He-Man. I should probably get He-Man up here. I should have done that. I should have gotten the He-Man trailer up. Let me get it up. Masters of the Universal Revelation. There we go. Okay. Get that up here. Yeah, here it is. Official teaser trailer. Now I got the appropriate visuals. So, and here's Prince Adam, and there's He-Man, and he's doing his thing. And he's all over this trailer, too. I mean, He-Man's all over this trailer. So if it's not about him, this is an incredibly misleading trailer on top of everything else. I mean, look at it. He's all over it. He's in it from beginning to end. Tila is only in it once or twice. Just clicking through here, I can't even find her. I'm sure she's in here somewhere. Here he is transforming. There's a beast man. There she is. Yeah, like this and like one other shot. And then the other still I saw today, and I think this was over at Bounding in the Comics. It's Tila later, but she doesn't have this fancy outfit on or the tiara. She's just got like a butch haircut. like over to the side. You know the one I'm talking about. And, she's got a female friend who maybe is her girlfriend, who's a woman of color, as they say. So, I mean, that sounds incredibly woke. Incredibly woke. And if that's the case, Kevin's going to get absolutely roasted on the internet when this thing comes out. When is it coming out, by the way? I'm going to have to watch it now. I think I'm going to have to. Part 1. I forget now. July 23rd. Okay, so we got about a month. Yeah, I mean, Kevin's going to get absolutely obliterated in this. He can hope people are going to forget a month from now, but it's not that far off. I mean, his only saving grace is it's coming out in the summer. And I think a lot of people, this year especially, they're just going to be too busy doing stuff. After last year being cooped up, they're going to be out and about. But this is the exact, in my view, wrong way to roll out something like this. Here's one of the videos right here. Smith busted lying about He-Man's Master of the Universe. I don't know if he lied about it. I mean, he seemed to have lied about it in an interview. At first, it looked like maybe the Entertainment Weekly guys said that and just sort of drew their own conclusion. But it looks like, no, he actually said some things that contradict what he had tweeted in 2013, which is like, yeah, I was never a He-Man guy. Which, he should have. Here's the picture right here in the still. I don't know if you can see it. I'll roll it up here in case my face is blocking it. It's like Tila with a kind of butchy haircut. If you go to Clownfish TV, you can see it. And she doesn't have the tiara and she doesn't have her outfit. So, if you want to please the woke, you've already lost the battle. Okay? The woke don't care. The point is not for their complaints to change anything. They don't care. They don't care about your show. They don't care. Okay? Understand that. Understand that going in. They don't care. What they want is attention. And the moment you give it to them, they'll just say, keep giving me more. And what's the easiest way to do that is say, no, not good enough. So again, Kevin Smith could cancel all the cartoons they've already made, burn them in a dumpster, and say, nope, we're going to redo this all, and we're going to recast He-Man. The entire cast is going to be people of color, and we're going to change all the characters, and they're going to be people of color, and we're going to get disabled and trans people, blah, 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 on and on and on and on. Won't matter. The woke will still show up to go, nope, still sucks. It's an audience that dares you to destroy your creation. And look, Kevin Smith, at the end of the day, he's not the creator of He-Man. Okay? And He-Man, one person described it as a knockoff of Conan that was, supposed to be more palatable. And that doesn't mean he can't be good. I'm a huge fan of Thundar the Barbarian, which, God forbid they bring that back now and woke it up. But, and that was an obvious ripoff of Conan set in the future. But it was kind of cool. And this, He-Man, was never cool. It was never cool. It was just relentlessly pushed because there was a giant toy line behind it. And people liked the toys because the toys, I guess, were kind of cool. I guess you could argue that. But, the cartoon itself, it would go nowhere. It was the same thing. It was just an excuse. He-Man, you broke into my castle. I'll get you, Skeletor. And then he'd run away and something else would happen. And then at the end of the show, he'd win. But like Skeletor never went to jail. Skeletor never died. Nobody ever died. So what are you going to do in this cartoon? It's a world in which nobody dies. And you can't suddenly up that ante and say, well, now it's a world where somebody dies. Okay, show us one. You're not going to see one. Or you're going to kill off characters that nobody cares about, or worse, you'll kill off a character they do care about. And then you're going to be like, ooh, people like that guy, and I just killed him, and now we can't make toys on him. So the only thing to do, the only move, in my view, the best move in this would have been to go full-blown comedy. would have been Eternia 40 years later. And, everybody's just dumb. Everybody's just as dumb as a box of rocks. And they go through the motions. And, Prince Adam is this big hero, but he really sucks. And everybody kind of hates him. I mean, it'd be hilarious. But they didn't do that. So they're going to try and make it the serious thing. And then the next step is to make it woke, because that's the only thing they can think of to get it attention. And it has gotten attention. Now I'm going to watch it, but why am I watching it? Well, same reason a lot of people are going to watch it, just to complain about it and do a video on it. So is that an audience? No, it's going to die on the vine just like Batwoman did. And you can keep pumping it out, but how did that work for Batwoman? It just kept going down. When you had the main character, the main actress of your TV show, she's got a lead in a major television show, and she quits. I mean, this is something actors almost never do. When you have the lead on a TV show, to quit is insanity. This is your career. This is your show. It showcases you for the entire episode every single week. And you're going to quit? You know how bad the show has to be for people to quit that way? Pretty bad. So, Hollywood, once again, stop being woke.